Is it just me, or have a lot of my fellow Black Americans noticed the amount of hate and disdain coming from Africans? And by the end of this video, you will completely understand why I feel that way. Now, you can go to any social media platform, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, and you will find a video, a clip, a reel of an African referring to an African American as an Akata. There have been a debate as to whether this term is derogatory or a slur or not, but a lot of African Americans know that this means stray. And a lot of Africans, when they use the term Akata, is usually in a derogatory way. I've also noticed Africans that have an issue with African Americans being even called African Americans. That's a term that was, invented in the 80s by Jesse Jackson, and it just kind of stuck. It was something that white people could call us, other than niggas and Negro and all of the other racial slurs that they used to call Black Americans at that time. Africans don't like this because they feel like we are not African. So we should not have the title of African. And even though we can trace using things like 23andMe, Ancestry, DNA, we can trace our DNA back to that of Africa. We know that someone in our ancestral lineage descended from Africa. But Africans say, you've never been to Africa, you are not African, you were not born there, do not refer to yourself as an African American. Black Americans, we said, okay, cool, we'll call ourselves Black Americans. Because if you go to like London, they don't call themselves African British, they just call themselves Black British or just British. So a lot of Black people, a lot of Black Americans, we would like to just be referred to as American, but guess what? We have no control over that. Black people in December, we wanted to celebrate Kwanzaa. And a lot of Africans had an issue with that. They said, no. You're stealing my language. I'm from Kenya. You're stealing Swahili. You've never been. You're not a part of. Do not use my language. It's not your language. It doesn't belong to you. And as a person like myself, I know that, your languages that you have is really just a mix of different cultures that came together and created that language. But okay. And then it didn't stop there. They used that to say, oh, you guys are vultures, you're doing this, you're being exploitive, things like that, like really attacking Black Americans that were celebrating Kwanzaa. Now, a lot of people don't understand that Black people, we have always felt a sense of camaraderie with our African brothers and sisters. But we are noticing that a lot of Africans do not feel that same way towards us. I've always heard of African families not wanting their sons and daughters to marry Africans in America because of the way we have been portrayed in the media. That wasn't new. But I think social media has given a window to see just how deep their hate for us goes. And very recently, we were able to see all of this hate come to a head with Ari Lennox, because she went to Ghana and she was tweeting about, being on the beaches of Ghana and feeling close to her ancestors. As soon as she mentioned her ancestors, people started roasting her. One person even tweeted, just went to Ghana and connected with my ancestors. I am flowing with Black Panther energy. Wakanda forever. Like, the disrespect in that tweet, like, it's like Africans want African Americans to forget our past, our history. But I'm not surprised at the amount of hate coming from Africans, different countries in Africa, are their citizens, because this is the reason that slavery was allowed in the first place. You had a lot of black people, a lot of black Africans selling those of tribes that they didn't deem valuable. Someone then tweeted, "What is this nonsense? Can you not have a normal vacation? Can you not be exploitive and weird? Like, how is it being exploitive when you are connecting with something you know is a part of you, because you're able to take a DNA test and your body is memory?" So we know that we came from West African countries and things like that. What is the issue with Africans recognizing that? And why do they hate us so much? Drop it in the comments, because I would love to understand. And then one man, one black American male, he said, on TikTok, he said, "Why do a lot of African women not want to date an African American man?" And the comments, it was like, "Oh, because he's a deadbeat. He don't have a job. He don't take care of his kids. We're not going 50-50, blah, 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 blah." But if we as black Americans gave back those same stereotypes, and a lot of black Americans have wanted to feel connected, you know, like, hey, my brother, my sister, you know, we've wanted to feel connected. And Ari Lennox, she caught so much hell. And a lot of people were like, wow, they got a chance to see just how ugly, how mean Africans were being towards Ari Lennox for even saying that or having a say in her experience. And so one person said, hey, you know, the Africans were very mean. They ran Ari Lennox off of Twitter. Ari Lennox defended other Africans, saying, "It's not Africans, these are trolls." So I guess my question to you, do you think there's just a bunch of trolls running around? Or do you honestly believe that different countries in Africa have taught their children for generations and generations to have a certain disdain for black Americans? And now there's this racial divide between black Americans and Africans, because they're attacking us so hard. And one thing about black Americans, we've always been able to defend ourselves, but they can't relate to us. So now it's us versus them type thing. And I think this gets us nowhere. If America was still the way that it used to be, even Africans wouldn't be able to come over here without being harassed or get an education at the colleges that they love to go to so much. Like, do they understand that black Americans fighting for the ability to even sit at the front of the bus or go to certain schools opened the door for them to come over here, even as immigrants? Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'm Daisha Shakila. Talk to you later.